Welcome to A Geek's Garage.
Okay, so what we're doing today is trying to diagnose why the car has a very rough idle and actually just stalls once the engine warms up. So looking on the forums, the one thing that everybody said was check the throttle position sensor, and then there's also a air mixture valve. So I actually went out and bought both parts. Part of the reason for that is because I actually already know the throttle position sensor is bad. The reason why I know that is because I have a ODB connector. I don't even know if it's really called an ODB connector since this is before ODB was really a standard. But there is somebody out there who sells a great little utility that will actually read the codes off of these 91 and 92 cars, because I don't think anything will read. I think a couple years, model years in, it starts to get to be an ODB2 and it's a little bit easier, but for these originals, there's nothing out there that'll read them. So anyways, that told me that there was a problem with the throttle position sensor. It said TPS sensor, clear as day.
Hey, and speaking of problems, what's this I hear about you having problems with your TPS reports?
Yeah.
Being said, I figured I'd go through the diagnostic test that is outlined in the documents or in the service manual just to see what I get. So here's what we're going to do. This right here, it says minus SO plus. This is your throttle position sensor. And what you can do is you're going to need a voltmeter or ohm meter. And set it to read so that it'll read between 3 and 5,000, 3 and 5K ohms. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. I've got some alligator clips, which is allowing me to do this more hands-free because there's a second test that we'll do in a minute. But the first thing that you're supposed to do is check that between the bottom one here and the top one, that you get a reading between 3.5 and 6.5 kilo ohms. So that test's okay. So the next test is to go ahead and hook between that bottom one and the second one. And when you do that, we start out with 0, and if you move the throttle, that number should change, and it should change smoothly. And if you take a look, you can see it is staying at 0. So according to the documentation, that is a bad throttle position sensor. Now, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't something that I was testing wrong, so I grabbed my new throttle position sensor, which is this right here, and we're going to hook up the same way. So we're going to hook up to the bottom, and we're going to hook up to that middle spot. And one of the things is that instantly when you do that, you get a reading. And if I go through and move the sensor, you can see that that number changes. So this is most definitely needs to be replaced. Is this going to totally fix it? Don't know. But we're going to go ahead and replace it and find out. Okay, so here's that same test again, now with the new sensor in there. And you can see the number goes up and comes back down nice and smooth. So hopefully that fixes the problem with it being at idle when the engine's warm.
Evidently, I didn't feel filming the success of changing out the throttle position sensor was required, and I didn't actually film and show that this worked. But it did. Once the car would get up to temperature, the idle would drop down, and it would idle perfectly fine with no stalling at all. The next major problem that I had with the engine was that when it was warmed up and when I was driving, if I would go to put my foot on the clutch, the engine would stall out. Again, after checking with the forums, I was able to find out that this was the idle air control valve. Replacing this required pulling the throttle body, as the control solenoid was just too hard to get to with the throttle body still on the car. But with both the TPS and IAC replaced, the engine ran so much better, so much smoother, and I didn't have any more problems with the car stalling out on me. So really easy to replace both of these overall, and made a big difference in how the engine ran. I hope that helps some of you who own these great little cars. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and also be sure to like and comment down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot more coming up with both the Dodge Stealth as well as a 1984 Dodge Rampage. Thanks for watching. See ya.